The news is everywhere. It's on TV, the radio, and the internet. You can get it from RSS feeds and through text on your phone. Some of us even find news through social media apps. But where does news come from? The people who bring us news and other factual information are called journalists. Sometimes they're also called reporters or correspondents, and their job is to keep us all informed about what's happening in our communities, our state, our country, and around the world.
A journalist is a person, a man or a woman, who tells other people, whether over television or radio or in written words on a page, what happened, what is happening in the world, so that people who are reading it or listening to it or watching it can understand the world better.
A journalist is basically a storyteller. And when you come home from school and your mom or dad ask you how your day was, you're essentially telling them a story. You're not telling them every single thing you did all day, you're giving them the highlights. Oh, I met with so-and-so friend at recess, I played with such and such team, I talked to so-and-so teacher, right? You're essentially distilling to them what the most important story was. So we're all, in a sense, journalists, and we just do this with cameras and equipment that you might not have.
The neat things about being a journalist is having access to the people and the places that the regular public does not. The general public isn't going to sit in a courtroom all day to see what happened in the trial. They're not necessarily going to go to every school board meeting to see what's going on in their schools. They're not going to be able to sit in the classroom with their kid to see what kind of curriculum they're learning or if they have a textbook or what their teacher's teaching them that day. But we as journalists are able to do that and to bring that information to the public. And I think that's the neat thing about it is we're kind of the eyes and ears for the community.
We are the vehicles to get information to people, and our job is to make sure that people get the information that they need accurately and quickly. Journalists have access to things that normal people don't have access to or don't have time to have access to. They need us to be the gatekeepers, to check on things, to make sure things are working the way they should in our society, in our government, in our law enforcement, that people are being held accountable for the things that they do, for the crimes they commit, for the job that they do. We are a better educated society and we're a better informed society because of journalists.
People who do not do what we do for a living depend on journalists to help them make sense out of everything that's going on in society. And without the journalists, people in the community can't really make good, sound decisions and good, sound judgments about how they want their community to look, how they want their community to be governed, how they want their society to look, if they don't have proper information to do so.
We have our three branches of government, but then we have the fourth estate. Back in the 1800s, they started talking about journalism as a fourth estate. And then someone was saying, well, why don't we call it the fourth branch of government? Why do we call it the fourth estate? And my understanding of that is because we don't want to be connected with the government, we want to be independent. And it's really important that there's an independent voice. You want to be independent of government or anyone who might censor you. You want to be able to really get your story out. And then there's advocacy, because there's a whole issue of civil rights, human rights. Are people being treated fairly on their job, at home, in their lives? If not, we need to expose that.
That's the reporter's job. The reporter goes and lets you know in his or her news report what's going on at City Hall, what's going on in government, so that you can decide how you feel about it as a voter and as a citizen. And the whole idea of having citizens who can make informed, intelligent decisions about their society doesn't even work unless you have journalists in the middle, filling in and giving you what you need to know.
Somebody has to hold people accountable. When your elected leaders do something that you want to know why, somebody's got to ask those questions. Without journalists, then those questions don't get asked. Look at stories that do have an impact on a lot of people in this country. Significant questions get asked by journalists, and then sometimes we get answers, and sometimes we even get change, which is good. Journalism will always be important and will always be relevant. There's always going to be a place for people asking good questions and reporting the facts of stories. Whether it's on the internet, whether it's on social media, whether it's in a paper, on the radio, on TV, there's always going to be room for that. always.
Journalism plays an important part in keeping us all informed about events and issues. As we spend more time connected to the internet, consuming news and information, the way the news looks and sounds might be changing. But the fundamentals of journalism and good news reporting are not going away anytime soon.